Welcome back to Let's Make a Game, a channel about making computer role-playing games using the free program Twine and the Sugarcube format for Twine. In this video, I would like to continue demonstrating the combat mechanic, which I've been talking about for a few videos now. We have the program that I've been using. It seems to be the same as it was in the last video, but in fact I've added some code, and that code allows me to show you the flow of a turn. Before I do that, however, I would like to mention something that I should have mentioned before, but just kept forgetting, and that is that the character pictures all come from the Battle for Westnorth, which is a free program that I talked about a little while ago as a possible source for artwork. So, as the text says, it is Nicodemus the Unready's turn to act. Let's say that we attempt one activation. In this case it's a failure, so he won't get to do anything. And once we press continue, it should pass on to the next character, which indeed it does. Let's say that he's feeling bold. He attempts 3 activations. And he's very unlucky. He got 3 failures. And because he got at least 2 failures, that means the initiative immediately passes to the other side. In other words, these 2 characters won't get their go. So that was a sort of poor gamble that he made there. And so when we press continue, we can see that it's the Undead Sorcerer's go. So that's how the structure of a turn works. The Undead Sorcerer would then act, and it would pass back to the player characters, and it would continue until, of course, the combat ended in one way or the other. So I'd like to spend the rest of the video looking at the code, although we probably won't get through the whole thing in this video, I wouldn't think. So last time I showed you the code, we had 4 passages. This one, this one, this one, and this one. So I've added 3. We have one for actions, which is where the actual actions would happen. There's not much there other than sort of a note that, code goes here, because that's the next thing I need to code probably. We have next char, N-E-X-T-C-H-A-R, which is the passage which handles who's next after a character finishes moving. So, in other words, do we move on to the next character on one side, or do we pass over to the other side, or have we, well, it's one of those two. Have we finished one side and move on to the other, or do we pass on because they got 2 failures? And then we have PC display. This isn't actually new code. This is an example of something that I frequently do, which is when we have the same code in 2 places, instead of copying the whole thing out, we put it in its own passage and then use includes to get to it. So let's look at that one first. In new round, we call PC display when we're setting up the display text and when acting_side is equal to 1, which means when the player characters are moving. And all it does is set up the display text that says it is whatever character's go it is turn to act, and then gives us these 3 buttons for attempting 1, 2, or 3 activations. So actions and next char, we go to them from the passage roll. You'll recall that the passage roll is where we, as the name says, roll or simulate rolling to see if an attempted activation was a success or not. And based on that, we either have to let the character act if they've got any actions, or we need to move on to the next character because this character doesn't get to do anything. So we do that down here. I'm skipping past this text because it's the same as it was before. I'm going to the new bit. So the new bit is here. This is where previously we just printed display_text, but in this case that's not what we're going to do. We're going to have a button that has the text continue. This is after we have the text that's something like Nicodemus the Unready gets 2 successes and 1 failure, or whatever it may be. After that, we have 2 line breaks, which are those less than, BR, greater than. and then we have a button that has the text continue, and it goes to one of two places. It goes to either next char or actions, and that depends on whether W is equal to 0. W, as the note says up here, is the number of successes. If there's 0 successes, we go to next char, and if W is something other than 0, we go to actions. So even if there were two failures, and one success, we still go to actions because we need to let the player have that action before we move on. And it looks like that's all we're really going to have time for in this video. I'll continue going through these two in the next video, but I will leave it there for now. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.